Hello, my name's Jo Ferry and I'm a senior lecturer at the University of Glasgow and director of Glasgow QSTEP. This very short video is just going to give you some insight into categorical data, what it is we're trying to capture, and what are the mathematical limitations of what we can do with that data. And all of my teaching, honestly, all of it, uses analogies to help me get the point across to you. And in this situation, I'm going to use the example of public transport. So our social worlds are really, really complex. And for social scientists using quantitative methods, there's always a challenge about capturing the complexity of those social worlds and translating that into numbers without reducing down that nuanced experience we have of whatever field or phenomenon that we're interested in. So we don't want to reduce that experience down to the point that the numbers don't mean anything. At the same time, we have to reduce these complex social relationships that we have in order to capture them and produce some data analysis and findings on that data. So our social worlds tend not to be made up of continuous data. Continuous data are things like how heavy we are, time, how tall we are, the things that where numbers are used to represent a concept. Those numbers maintain their mathematical properties. So if we added somebody who was a meter tall to somebody who was 2 meters tall, and then we imagined that person, one person, standing on the shoulders of another, we would end up with two people that were 3 meters tall. There is a mathematical principle there that we can impose upon our continuous data. Now, most of our social data doesn't have these mathematical properties. When we're reducing down complex relationships, how we experience education, how much we favor going to museums in person rather than going into an online remote version of that gallery, we are reducing things, that experience down to categorical data. And these are meaningful groupings that are then given a numerate label in order to manage our analysis. So it allows us to make sense of really complex social information. But we have to remember that the numerate label that we give to a category has no mathematical properties. So here's my example. Buses are numbered, but the number represents a route. And the numbers that are assigned to a bus tended to emerge historically rather than in an ordered way. So the bus route number 1 plus the bus route number 2 does not give us bus route number 3. If we add these categories together using the numerical data that we've assigned, we don't get meaningful data. And so if we look at bus route 3, we actually have no additional information to conclude anything about bus route 1 and 2. They're completely unrelated. But we do have students, honestly some staff too, who get a little bit confused about that. And once they see a data set that's made up of numbers, they start to think that there must be something that you can do with adding, with multiplication, to do something mathematically fancy with that data. It's simpler than that. So adding bus route 2 and 4 does not give us bus route 6, because 6 doesn't mean the number between 5 and 7. It just means the bus route 6. So here 6 means a particular route with a start and an end. But, we also have to think really carefully about what the people who collected the data thought they were capturing, and what the people that gave us the data thought they were responding, what they were trying to capture with their response. So we have to be so careful, especially if we're analysing secondary data, so data that's been produced by somebody else that we might have downloaded from the UK Data Archive. We have to be so careful that we don't misinterpret what was originally meant by the data collector or the data provider. So maybe the number 6 here refers to a bus route, but maybe it refers to the number of stops on the way within a route. Or maybe the number 6 is one person's journey using that particular bus that may have a number of different stops that are experienced than the entire route normally has. Or it might mean something really abstract and something we might be more qualitative engaging with as qualitative researchers. It might mean how I get home, much more focused on a holistic experience. Or the driver may understand the number 6 as being work. If we think about the perspective from which the data was generated, we may interpret the meaning quite differently. So categorical data represents chunks of meaning, and we need to know what each of these numbers mean in order to make sure that we don't make errors in how we work with that data. And this principle allows us to measure or capture loads of chunks of social data. But in understanding that data, you really need that qualitative mindset. That qualitative mindset allows you to ask why, but what does it mean? And that's why people who are really good or lean towards qualitative methods should really do quants too.